Hello there, and welcome to the calculator tutorial. And you may be taking this tutorial in the course of a class, or you may just be using this to review before your test. I'm not sure what your purpose is for being here, but whatever it is, I'll welcome you. We are going to be working with the Casio FX260 Solar Calculator. And I'm going to take you through some examples that you are likely to see on the HiSET exam. Now, I have not seen the HiSET exam. I do not ask students questions about the HiSET exam, so I don't know what's on there. All I have to go on is the material that I am given by HiSET and by publishers to prepare for HiSET. So based on that material and the practice test, I am just showing you examples of what I think you may encounter. So I can't promise you that this will be on there, but I can't promise you that it won't either. So hopefully when you get through this course, you will have a better understanding of how to use this calculator. I know some of you do not have the calculator at home, so I have given you a picture here in your notebook for reference. So if you do not have the calculator at home, I recommend that you at least look at this picture and try to find the buttons that I'm describing, so that on test day you will know where to look for those buttons. Okay, the first thing I want to show you is after the calculator face, I want to show you about some navigation keys. These keys don't do anything per se, but they will help you figure out, they will help you move around on your calculator screen a little more efficiently. So the first two things that I want to look at are the clear and all clear keys. And I'm going to try to highlight this in yellow so you can see these. But clear and all clear will be a different color than what you see for your other keys. Let me make this a little darker. Sometimes they're blue, sometimes they're pink. It just depends on the particular color of calculator that you buy. But on ours, the gray ones, the buttons are red. And I need to tell you the difference between clear and all clear. And just to keep us coordinated a little bit, I'm going to highlight these buttons up here also. So clear and all clear. Clear will clear the last entry that you type. So let's suppose that I type in 114 and I meant to type 224. And I'm very bad to do this because I have dyslexia and things get mixed up sometimes. So I use the clear key quite often. It will erase the last entry, the whole number that you typed, but it will not go back to the beginning of the problem. All clear will go back to the beginning. So if you press all clear, you have to start over. You are erasing everything. Clear just erases the last entry that you typed. The shift key. The shift key is one of the most important keys on here. And I'm not going to be zooming in and out on you. I know that gets annoying, so I'm just going to color this. But on this one, I do want to zoom in just a little bit. So the shift key I have marked in orange, and let me zoom. Zoom a little more. If you notice above the shift key, the word shift is in orange. What this allows us to do is to access second functions. So for example, this one, and that's not working too well. Let me try this. This one is a second function that we'll use a lot. There are second functions on a few of these. We will use this one, and we'll use this one. So in order to get to those top functions, you have to press the Shift key. It's just like the Shift key on a keyboard, on a computer or your cell phone, will allow you to get a capital letter. So the Shift key allows you to get any of these functions in orange. Okay, the backspace key. And let me try to highlight that one for you. That is right here. And if you're familiar with backspace on a computer keyboard, you will know what this does. Backspace is going to erase one digit at a time. So for example, if you type 115 and you meant to type 116, you can press the backspace key and this is what it will do. Let me show you. So let's suppose that I type in 115 and I realize I meant to say 116. So I press the backspace key and it will take off only the 5 so that you can enter the 6 that you want and have the correct number. So the backspace takes one digit at a time. The clear key takes one entry at a time. So if you press clear, it would take all of that. Okay, those are some navigation keys. And let's move on to some actual calculations. So if you turn the page, you have 3 problems here that we will solve using the calculator. And I do need to zoom in so that we can see these, but I'll not be zooming in and out. That I know is annoying. Okay, so here's the first one. This one has decimals. And the first thing I want to caution you on is to not confuse a decimal and a comma. Your calculator does not understand a comma. And I know that some calculators do, but this particular one does not know what the comma is. So please don't mistake the comma and the decimal. They're not the same thing. To put this problem in, here are the buttons that you need to press. The first thing is all clear. That should always be your first button. And your last button will always be equals. Well, there's one time it won't, and I'll show you that in just a minute. So, to put this problem in, I need to type 3 and 6/10 plus 6 and 7/1000. And I'm going to do this with you so that I'm sure we're seeing the same thing. The answer that we're looking for is 9 and 607 thousandths. 9.607. Okay, to do a fraction problem. So we're looking at a mixed number minus a fraction. You want to first type all clear. Your last key will be equal. 1 fraction, 3 fraction, 5. And this fraction ABC key is right under Shift. So if you're looking at your calculator face, find the Shift key, and right underneath it is the fraction key. So this mixed number is 1 and 3 and 5. Subtract 2 fraction 7, 2/7. So all clear, 1 and 3 and 5 minus 2 and 7 equals, and you get something that looks a little odd. So let me make sure you know how to read this. This is 1 and 11 35ths. And that's your final answer. Your calculator will always reduce to lowest terms. Okay, the last problem on this page is an exponent problem. And before I show you how to do this, let me show you what it means. We won't get too far in depth, but I want you to at least understand the math on this one. So we have this problem that looks like this. Okay, the base is the 4, and that little number is called an exponent. So you have a base and an exponent. And to do this problem longhand, you need to write the base down 3 times. The base, and then the 3 tells me the number of times, and then you multiply in there. So 4 to the 3rd power means 4 times 4 times 4. And if we were doing this longhand, we would start with this problem. So 4 times 4 is 16. Whoops, I've got my shape tool locked on. So 16. Sorry, we'll get there. Okay, and then I'm going to drop down this other 4. And let me highlight it so you can follow where it's coming from. This 4 comes down here, and then you would multiply 4 times 16 to get 64, and that is your final answer. So if you're working these longhand, you just have to keep multiplying until you get to the end. To do this on the calculator, you would say all clear. And I'll tell you what, let me try. I put this in the wrong spot. No, it's going to make me do it right there. Okay, it's okay. So let's do all clear. Equals will be your last key. Put your base in. And then your exponent key is above the red C, the clear key. So if you look above the red clear key, you will see that XY button. That's called the exponent key. So all clear, 4xy3 equals, and you get 64. So to read this, we would say 4 to the 3rd power is 64. That's how you would read that problem. 4 to the 3rd power is 64. And I can show you, if you look at this yellow part only, 4 times 4, that would be 4 to the 2nd power, which would be 16. So this is called exponential growth. You are growing in terms of exponents. It's used a lot in algebra and a lot in geometry. If you take the geometry course with me, you'll see this a lot in there. Okay, let's turn the page. I'll get this page and then I'm going to stop the video because I don't want these to get terribly long. This one is called a square root. And let me show you how to do the calculator, and then I'll try to explain a little bit about what it means. So to put this one in the calculator, we're going to always put all clear. And then we enter the 225. This time we need the shift key. And it's the button on the top row that looks like that. But what I am really looking for is not this x second, it's this second function up there, the square root sign, and that's called a radical. So we're looking for that radical above the x2. So if you do shift x2 and equals, you should get 15. Let me make sure. All clear, 225, shift x squared equals 15. And here's why. This is true because 15 to the second power, which would be 15 times 15, is 225. Okay, so the square root of 225 equals 15. It's a special kind of division where you're looking for a root as your quotient. If you take the algebra course with me and also the geometry course, you will use square roots. These are called inverse functions. Raising something to a second power and then taking the square root, those are opposites. Those are inverse operations. The next one is similar. It looks kind of the same. This is called a cube root. Okay. And to do this one, you would do all clear. Put your 729 in there. This is another second function, so you have to shift. And I forgot it's plus minus. So if you look above your change sign key, and we're going to use that key in just a minute, but I'm interested in what's above it. Notice that sitting above there in orange is the function we're trying to do, the cube root. So we want to do 729, shift, plus minus, and always equals as your last answer. So 729 shift x2, plus minus is 9. And this is because 9 to the third power, or 9 cubed, is 729. So the cube root of 729 is 9. And I want to show you another little picture here for this one. This will link you to geometry. And again, I don't want to get too far ahead, but I think this might help you. I want you to picture in your mind a cube. And I'm going to try to draw one. I'm not an artist, but I think I might be able to swing this one. So let's bring in the other square and then add the width that makes this a three-dimensional shape. And if we wanted to find the volume of this cube, in other words, how much that cube would hold, we would have to multiply the length, the width, and the height. So it takes those 3 dimensions to get a cube. So the volume of this cube is 9 times 9 times 9, or 729. And notice that is the root that we're taking. We're looking for those 3. If you go back to this one, we're only dealing with a square here. So in this one, actually I've already drawn a square. Let me just paste it in. So if you look at this square, that is 15 by 15. So if you multiply the length times the width, you would get 225, or a square area. But this one is a square root. And here's your square. And then the other one is a cube root, because a cube is 3-dimensional. So I hope I haven't confused you. If you've seen that before, that's probably a good review. If not, it's a little confusing, I know. Just focus on the calculator keystrokes if it's a little bit more than you want to know. Okay, for this bottom one, this one involves negative numbers. For me personally, this is one of the hardest ones to do because I forget the negatives. I just have always done that. I usually just do these in my head. But to do this problem, you first have to realize that right in there, where there is no sign, there's multiplication. If you see two parentheses like that being pressed together with no operation between them, that's multiplication. You see here, they're not pressed together. There's an addition sign in there. So here we're going to add, and then there we're going to multiply. So that's the first thing you have to know about this one. Okay, all clear and equals. So I come to this -2, and the first question I have to ask myself is, do I need to put in those parentheses? The answer is no. The only thing those parentheses are doing is to hold that negative sign onto the 2. So all we have to do is put in the 2 and then make it negative. And that key is above this 7. So 2, and all this does is make a negative. One thing I do not like about this calculator is that you have to put the number in first. You cannot type the negative and then the 2. It won't work. So you have to put your 2 in and then change its sign. And then we add 5. We need that to be negative. So you have to press the plus minus. And remember, there's multiplying happening right here. Let me see if I can highlight those parentheses. That is multiplying. And that's something that you're going to see a lot of in algebra. So you have to know that that is multiplying. Tell your calculator to multiply. And then the 3 is not negative, so we don't want to make it negative. If it doesn't have a negative sign, leave it alone. You just type it in. So let's type this in exactly, make sure that I've done it correctly. 2 negative plus 5 negative times 3 equals, you should get a -17 as your answer. And I don't think I said it, but I did press all clear. I just am in the habit of that, and I don't always say it. Okay, I'm going to stop the video because it's getting long, and I'll see you in part 2, where we'll look at another problem or two and do some percentages.